got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Hey, Billy.
Yeah?
Do you want to go to the state fair?
Yeah.
Do you want to ride the roller coaster?
Yeah.
The big one?
Yeah.
The one with the reverse flip?
Yeah!
Well, you can't. Well, you see, Billy, when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have done with it, including going to the state fair.
Oh, man.
Cheer up. This year, your parents will make it right. They're going to visit EnergySavers.gov, where they'll get tips on how to save energy and money. Then they'll add extra insulation and get a few of those Energy Star appliances. They could save hundreds of dollars a year. And you know what, Billy?
What?
They'll take you to the state fair next year.
But I want to go this year.
I know you do, Billy. I know you do. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Live from Mississippi, here's Graceland with Jennifer Meadows.
Well, thank you for listening to the program. This is Graceland on 1360 AM. I am Jennifer Meadows with Principal Political Analyst for the Independent Voter Network, TJ O'Hara. And we've been talking about immigration in America with Leo Hohmann, who is a news editor for WorldNet Daily. And right before the break, Leo, I just asked you to explain, has anybody asked this question of why we're bringing in so many Muslim refugees? Why not Christians or even some of the other religious folks that are in this area? How come 97% Muslim? Kind of extreme.
Very extreme. One of the issues going on there, and I just reported this today in a new article, is, well, you've got a couple of issues. First of all, the Obama administration is very hostile towards Christians trying to enter this, persecuted Christians trying to enter this country. You may recall a few months back, the administration even tried to block a Catholic nun from coming to testify before Congress.
Wait a minute. Wait, Leo, I got to stop you there. Okay, wait a minute. We're bringing in possible ISIS members from Syria, but we're blocking Catholic nuns. I just wanted to call attention for that. just
yeah, this nun was
Catholic
coming in.
nuns, so she's probably a danger to people, I'm thinking.
Yeah, right.
Only if she has a ruler in her hand. We've all been through that.
Right.
Maybe,
she was dangerous because of the information she was bringing and she wanted to share with Congress. So, you know, that was very dangerous. They didn't want that, but when a lot of media outlets reported on it, they backed off, they got embarrassed, and they let her in. Okay, another interesting story that we broke a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago maybe, that you may or may not recall. There were 27 Chaldean Christians who came in through the southern border. These are Iraqi Christians, ancient Christian community there that, as you know, has just been practically obliterated by ISIS. And here we had 27 of them who came in through the southern border. They had family in San Diego. And
that's TJ's area. TJ is.
They were seeking asylum, like so many others. Remember all those Central American children last summer and more this summer who came in? We couldn't wait to open our arms because they were, poor, oppressed asylum seekers. Mm-hmm. Well, here we had 27 Christians running from ISIS seeking asylum, and President Obama's deporting them.
Oh, my goodness. Now, so they came in through Mexico. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, and we're deporting those, but we're letting criminals out of jails like nobody's business.
Exactly, and we're
Not
also
a problem.
we also have had Somalis, Pakistanis, people from terrorist countries come in through that border, and they get processed and released and given a court date for their asylum hearing. These
Incredible.
folks these Christians were held for 6 months in detainment, and now they're being deported. And 5 of them are being charged criminally for falsifying their asylum application. So this is the way we treat Christians who are seeking asylum as opposed to Muslims. Okay, so you've got that being one factor. But then the other factor is very few Christians even want to go to these UN refugee camps. Why? Because they're run by the UN, who is putting in charge a lot of Muslims to manage the camps, and these Christians are being treated so awfully. In many cases, they're being killed in the camps. We had this story just come out today. They're being raped, killed in the camps. So word eventually spreads, don't go to the camps if you're a Christian.
Right.
So,
Leo, I want to jump in for a second. You had mentioned also, you just mentioned Somalis coming up through the southern border into the San Diego area. Are you familiar with what was transpiring up in Minnesota with their governor, Governor Dayton, where he's saying that Minnesota's economy cannot expand based on white B-plus native-born citizens because we don't have enough? And his reaction to anybody who was questioning the infusion of Somalis was, and I think I'll quote him properly, if you're that intolerant or if you're that much of a racist or bigot, then find another state. Are you seeing this type of an attitude from a governmental standpoint with the influx of immigrants?
Oh, absolutely. Depends on the state in this regard. As you know, states like Minnesota that are run by people like Governor Dayton, or New York, run by Governor Cuomo, have exactly that type of attitude. I think Cuomo said last year something similar to what Dayton said this year. If you're not pro-abortion, pro-immigration, pro-mass immigration, and anti-gun rights, and you're not for, or if you're for traditional marriage, you don't have a place in New York State. That's what he said. So, yes, this is still rather shocking and not that common, but we're seeing more of it pop up. And this is exactly the same type of thing that Germans are being told, by the way, in Europe. If they don't like the sight of 4,000 migrants coming into their town of 500 or 600 people and overrunning things and pillaging and leaving a mess and trashing the place and committing crimes, then they're racists or bigots, and they should probably look for another country to live in.
Well, and I was going to ask you, too, I know there's a lot of pushback all across America, and I know that the last time we had you on the show, Leo, we talked about these seed communities that are sprouting up all over America. Some of them are in Idaho, some of them are in South Carolina, but they're sprouting up everywhere. So they're in the southeast, they're in the northwest, they're everywhere at this point. And so, tell us, number one, what communities are doing to fight back, and you might want to mention some of the areas. What are some of these states and communities that are being inundated with these kinds of refugees?
Right. When I started reporting on this topic about 15 months ago, nobody had hardly heard of the refugee resettlement. The good news is, there is some good news, Michael Savage.
Yeah, good.
That, it's still fairly under the radar, but not nearly as much as it was. And we're seeing communities starting in select places to educate themselves first. I know activists who've never heard of this program 2 or 3 months ago, and now they've really educated themselves, and then they're educating their local county commissioners or city council members, and trying to get them on board. It's a slow process, but in South Carolina, I'll tell you, they're on fire there. They have got 2 or 3 counties that are 2 have already passed a resolution, a third is considering it, and others are considering it. where they are saying no refugee funding. You can't say no refugees. There's really no legal avenue to say that. But in South Carolina, unlike most states, they do have a law where local governments can cut off funding for the refugees. So it's unlikely the feds would send refugees to your community if they can't bring in all the federal funding that goes along with it. So South Carolina's on fire. Idaho, Twin Falls, Idaho is on fire. They have been going literally door to door. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, most of these communities encounter very unfriendly local press when they start questioning this program.
Oh, sure, yes.
The local paper won't let them print their letters to the editor. If they do, they're highly edited. In South Carolina, Greenville, I believe it was, an activist told me that the local newspaper wanted to cut out half of her letter, and it included the part that was statistics on refugees, total factual information.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it wasn't commentary or opinion. It was actual facts. They didn't want it in the paper.
It was, right, exactly.
We don't want facts in the news anymore.
No. That's not allowed. So in Idaho, they're actually bypassing the media and going door to door with literature and facts and educating people. And they've been holding rallies. They had a big rally a couple of weekends ago. More than 100 people marching and through Twin Falls. There's been a big petition drive in Fargo, North Dakota. People are getting active in Macomb County, Michigan. It's really starting to catch on in some places. It's not exactly a wellspring, but it's far more than we saw even a year ago.
Leo, when you bring up facts, makes me think of the Department of Commerce at the end of 2014 said we had roughly a little over 110 million people on welfare. We had about 42 million on food stamps and about another 10 million plus on unemployment insurance. And we currently are running about 15% of literacy in this country. What's the possibility that we might address some of those problems and fix those before we add to them? Yeah,
that's a good point there, TJ, and it also brings me back to some of the ridiculous comments that Governor Dayton made in Minnesota, talking about how these unskilled immigrants from Somalia were somehow propelling his economy forward, and without them, my goodness, without them, I think 85% of Minnesota is white, native-born American, but that's not enough to propel their economy. They need these low-skilled, non-English-speaking Somalis to come in. He obviously doesn't know the facts, or he's covering them up, because it is a fact that 73% of all refugees are on food stamps. And if you take the refugees that come from the Middle East, it's even higher. It's 91%. Don't those sound like highly productive immigrants to you? If you listen to him...
And Leo, you're exactly right. So many of these refugees that are coming in, not just from the Middle East, but coming in from Mexico as well, we keep hearing how they're going to be so productive in society, and this is going to help with labor and all this kind of stuff. But what we're finding is that they're doing nothing but sitting out here on welfare programs and sucking up tax dollars. And, that's great for the economy, Leo.
Right.
And with that,
exactly.
I wish we could continue this discussion a little bit longer, but I believe we're just about out of time, Leo. So I want you to tell people where they can find you, and we'd love to have you come back.
Sure. I think I could talk about this subject for another hour, Jennifer, at least. But,
exactly.
Just go to WND.com, and or you can Google my name, Leo Hohmann, and you search Leo Hohmann author page on WND. And all of my stories will come up, and you can subscribe to my RSS feed and get my stories that way.
Well, and we appreciate you so much, Leo, for getting the word out on this, because you really have been out on the front lines with the refugee, especially this refugee seed programs that are out all over the United States. So we appreciate the hard work you're doing. And Leo, please come back anytime. And with that, we do need to cut away to break, but you are listening to Graceland on WNJC 1360. We will be back